Hi, good morning. This is Brendan at the bakery, and we're going to review a little bit about what's the difference here. They're both brown sourdoughs in this hand. This is tartine #1, and this is our brown sourdough. And in some sense, they are identical products because they have the same ingredients. They're just made in different ways. And that begins with the flour. Here I have white flour, okay? So it's had the bran and the germ taken out. Together those things make up about 20% of the kernel of wheat. So this just has left the endosperm, it's called, which is the starchy portion, and also a bit of protein, the gluten. Okay, these two are both whole wheat flour. The difference is, if you can see, this one is much grainier. And this is what is often called white whole wheat. So this is our Schmidt flour. This is the organic whole wheat flour that we get from Schmidt Farms in Maple Creek. So what they've done with this is they took the whole kernel of wheat and ground it, the entire kernel. And you'd think, well, that makes sense. That's how you make flour, right? Yeah. Except it's usually more complicated than that, because most of the brown flour that you know, when you buy brown bread, or the flour that makes this, our sourdough brown, it feels a bit grainy in your mouth. It's got that satisfying kind of granola-like mouthfeel, it's called. And that's because what they did was they took the kernel of wheat, peeled off the bran in the first grind, and then continued to grind it into white flour. Okay? And then for whole wheat flour, they took the white flour and added back the bran, which made this. Okay, so to do that requires something in the middle of the process called a sifter, right? So you've ground the kernel of wheat first, and then you sift it, right? Letting this stuff fall through, and you take out the bran to add back later. Okay, I hope that's clear enough. So the idea is that these two flours are identical technically, right? You can just list the ingredients. They're both whole wheat flour, but this one is grainier. Okay. So to make the tartine bread, what we've done is we take a 50-50 mix of these two. It's half white, half whole wheat. It's according to Chad Robertson's tartine bread cookbook. And we add absolutely no commercial yeast to it. So this one has been leavened or risen entirely by the natural sourdough. Now we don't call this a sourdough, we call it tartine bread just to differentiate it, but it is a sourdough. It's actually the purest sourdough that we've got. And it has a lot more variability. As if you were one of these customers, you'll know that sometimes this bread is this tall, sometimes it's that tall, right? Just because we don't use any commercial yeast to help control the height of the rise of it. Okay, now this brown sourdough, we do put a pinch of commercial yeast in there. We still use the sourdough culture, and we use this flour, a 50-50 mix again of this flour with these two. And a pinch of yeast just to kind of help us control the consistency more and make sure that we do get a really decent rise out of it, but there's hardly any in there. Okay, so that's the difference between tartine and the brown sourdough, which are, if you just look at the ingredients, identical products, made different ways. That's it. Thanks.